All right, good morning. Thank you all for coming to this PEP class. So we're going to be going over some common motor vehicle laws and issues that we see here in Emerald Isle. I'm Officer Blalock, and what we're going to be going over first is going to be motor vehicle crashes. We don't like to call them accidents because typically somebody did something negligent to cause this to happen. So the first three questions that we always get are, I've been in a motor vehicle collision, what do I do now? Why did this happen? Is it my fault? And three, what are the biggest issues we see in Emerald Isle? So we must all remember that you must stop if you've been involved in a wreck. Stopping after an accident is required by law in North Carolina. You could face criminal charges if you do not stop. So even if you don't think there's any damage, but you do know that you've hit a vehicle, you must stop and you must at least try and talk to the other driver. If you don't know who the driver is, it is okay if you leave a note with your name and information, and we can get up with you later whenever they contact us and they come back to their vehicle. Somewhere like, the Food Line parking lot, you have no idea whether they're in Food Line, Rucker John's, just somewhere in there, and most of the time we're not going to find them either. So leaving a note is okay, or we can leave the note and then they can contact us whenever they get back to their vehicle. I've been in a motor vehicle collision. What do I do now? Check for injuries, yourself, your passengers, and anybody else that may be around that could have been involved in it. If someone needs immediate attention, call 911. If your vehicle is operable, pull over to a safe location. Time and time again, we get vehicle collisions where they're still in the roadway causing this massive traffic jam. First, it makes it harder for us just to get to it. And then second, the law says that you need to pull over if you're able to. Don't go and drive, a mile down the road and then pull into a gas station or whatever. There's plenty of shoulder room here in Emerald Isle where you can pull over safely and wait for us to respond. Once you've pulled over to a safe location, get out, assess the vehicle for damage, see what has been done to it, if there's anything that was already there, where all the damage could occur. You could have thought you got hit in one area, but since the size of the vehicle could have damaged much further to either side. When assessing your vehicle for damage, if a combined damage is estimated to be more than $1,000, a report is required. If combined damage is estimated below $1,000 and both parties agree, a report is not required and information can just be exchanged between the two parties. But even if the damage is below $1,000, you can still call us if you want to report. A lot of times people just want that peace of mind that the report's on file, and I certainly understand that, and we will definitely do that report. When do I call the police and what do I need? If a report is required or there is personal injury involved, you must call. So even if the damage is below an estimated $1,000 for the combined vehicles, if you have personal injury, somebody's complaining of any type of pain, you have to call us. And then obviously, if there is that $1,000 damage, you must call us. So once the police have, go ahead.
On insurance companies, do they require a report, even if it's less than $1,000?
So that's going to be up to your insurance company. Okay. It just kind of depends on kind of what the he said, she said is. If they're saying that, oh, well, my fault, this happened, then your insurance company may just call it a wash, and your insurance company will cover your car and their insurance company will cover their car, that kind of thing, if they can't figure out what occurred. So once the police have been called, at a minimum, you must provide your driver's license, your vehicle registration, and your proof of insurance. But when we have to do a report, we're also going to need all the information of the people inside the vehicle, every passenger. It gets real fun when you got a van full of kids and you've got to get everybody's name, date of birth, address, phone number. Sometimes it's friends and you got to get the parents' contact information. Did they have a seatbelt on? Everything like that we have to know for the report. So why/how did this happen? Well, more than likely one or more person contributed to the collision. And these are the primary offenses that we see. So inattention, just looking around, distracted driving, which is more in line with cell phone use, something inside the car like food, drinks, children in the back. Following too closely is a big one, which can contribute to most of these. Just in general, if you keep a safe distance, you'll have enough reaction time. Failure to reduce speed, so that's when you rear-end a vehicle and you didn't have enough time, or you didn't even apply the brakes and you hit the vehicle in front of you. Improper equipment, so mainly tires here. Your tires aren't up to spec, so when you go and you press the brakes, if you have bald tires, that's going to cause you to continue to roll forward. Improper backing, now that's probably the primary one in parking lots. You got to pay attention to your surroundings when you're backing. Go slow, don't be in a hurry. We see that all the time. I mean, just people backing into other parked cars. Failure to see before starting, stopping, or turning. So that happens a lot in parking lots as well, where somebody, just goes ahead and turns left, doesn't look both ways. We see it at leaving stop signs and all that kind of thing. Exceeding a safe speed for the conditions. So if it's raining and say the speed limit is 35, but it's pouring down rain, maybe you shouldn't go 35. So this is saying that if you have those type of conditions, you still can be charged for exceeding a safe speed, even though you weren't speeding, because the conditions warrant you to reduce that speed. And then failure to yield the right of way. So if you think you've got the right of way and you don't, and you go ahead and go and the other person goes and you hit, that's where that comes into play. So what's happening in intermodal? Motor vehicle collisions increase when traffic volume increases during our peak season. It's a pretty obvious statement, but you'll see in the graph in just a second on how much it really affects the island. So we have more vehicles, more pedestrians, businesses are open longer, and more turning, stopping, and starting. So all these distractions that are outside your vehicle, watching other vehicles, watching the pedestrians, cyclists, anything on the sidewalk. Your businesses are open longer, so you're looking to see where you're going to go to eat next in the next few days, or where you're going to go shopping next. And they're not paying attention to what's in front of them or to the left or the right of them. And so here's our graph with our wrecks by month. Now, we don't have 2022's data yet, but this is from 2021. So 32.7% of our wrecks in this time frame were rear-end collisions. So that's somebody hitting the person in front of them, not paying attention, being too close, not being able to stop in time, having distractions inside the car or outside the car. 18.9% were backing. So a lot of our parking lot wrecks that we get is 18.9%. So those two stats, the rear-end collision and backing, accounted for 51.6% of our total wrecks from January 2019 to August 10th, 2021. So that's over half of our wrecks are just rear-end collisions and backing. And then from May to August accounts for 61.4% of reported crashes from 2019 to 2021. So obviously those are our peak seasons. May to August, that's when we have the most people. And you can see, just in that graph alone, that's quite a big jump, even from April and September when we start to slow down.
Do you have any data that shows, like a roundabout or a different intersection, or more accidents are prone to happen there?
I do not. I'm sure we would be able to narrow it down to where it is. I can honestly tell you it's going to be from Bogue Inlet Drive to probably Loon. That's going to be because that's where everybody's coming and going. That's where it's the most congested. That's where all the businesses are, the stopping, the turning, like we displayed before. That's where you're going to have the most foot traffic. So being, down on the east end where there's a lot fewer distractions.
The roundabout was a controversial issue back in its time. Do you see a lot of accidents or any occurring in that roundabout?
So as far as in the roundabout, there's not a lot that I do witness. We've had some before the roundabout where people are stopping at the yield sign like they're supposed to and the person doesn't expect them to or something like that. I know we've had maybe a couple, I don't have the stats on it, but it definitely hasn't been the issue that a lot of people thought it was going to be. All right, so now we're getting to the really fun part, for me anyways. So I'm super passionate about the school bus laws here. When is it okay to pass a stopped school bus? Nowhere in Emerald Isle. You cannot pass a stopped school bus in Emerald Isle. So I pulled this statistic, and Emerald Isle Police Department issued 33 state citations last school year for passing school bus violations. So that was just last year alone, we issued 33. Well, and a lot of people, in my experience, don't understand the 3-lane school bus laws, and that's where it trips them up. Now, we do write a good amount in the 2-lane areas as well, with people not paying attention or just not caring, but it seems like the biggest misconception is the 3-lane right here through the business district and on further through Loon. So we have the graphic here with the 2-lane road, which everybody must stop at. We also have the graphic here, 2-lane road with a center turn lane, which everybody must stop at. And that's where we get the most complaints from the school bus drivers and probably get the most of our violations is right there through the business district when they're dropping children off. And just so y'all know, and whenever you go out and travel, so you just know the laws, even though it doesn't pertain particularly to Emerald Isle, 4-lane road without a median separation, so no turning lane and no hard median, you must stop, everybody, every direction. A divided highway of 4 lanes or more with a median separation or center turning lane, you do not have to stop except on the side that the bus is on. And I mean, I've even been going down 24, and I'm sure y'all have, and seen people stop on the opposite side on that 4-lane with the center turn lane. It just shows you that some people just aren't confident in their knowledge of when they have to stop and when they don't have to. And this is another one, so I got real fancy and drew this up on our reg program for y'all that a lot of people don't understand. So when you're at a 4-way intersection and the bus stops in the intersection, everybody must stop. You cannot turn right before the bus, you can't turn left behind the bus, and if you're on the other side, you can't turn right or left. Everybody must stop. And I've seen it where people think, you know, if you look at that bus and say you back it up a little bit to where the vehicle to the south is, if you backed it up so that that vehicle could turn right, they're still not allowed to turn right. And some people don't understand that. And so this is the general statute for passing a stopped school bus. So operate a vehicle on a street, highway, public vehicular area by passing a stopped school bus while the bus was displaying its mechanical stop signal or flashing red lights and is stopped for the purpose of receiving or discharging passengers. So that means if the arm hasn't had time to completely swing out yet, those red lights are already on. So you need to stop. And a lot of people don't understand, they try and treat it like a traffic light. You know, they see the yellow and they're like, oh, gotta beat it. That's not how it works when it comes to school buses. Once you see those yellow flashing lights and that bus is slowing down, you need to also be slowing down. Because this isn't one of those situations where, oh, it was close. No, if you go through it at red, we're pulling you over and you're most likely going to get a state citation. This is a situation where you err on the side of caution. Not that I condone trying to floor it through a red light or a yellow light at a traffic light, but it just seems that they try and use that same mentality with the school buses, and it's a much more dangerous situation.
That bus, when it first initializes its lights, you slow down, but you could legally pass that bus, can you not, until that red arm comes out, and at that point, are you legally, you know?
So the yellow come on for a certain amount of distance, and then they stop and the red lights come on. Once the red lights are actuated, that's when you must stop. That arm comes out after the red lights. So Once those red lights are activated, you can't pass that school bus. That's why it's easier to err on the side of caution and go ahead and start slowing down once you see the yellow. And sometimes it's difficult to judge when that bus is going to stop, but if you've got a street coming up nearby that bus and they're slowing down and got the yellow, you can almost guarantee they're going to stop at that street. I think we only have maybe 1 or 2 stops where they don't stop at an actual street. So, and Emerald Isle makes it a little bit easier to judge when they're going to stop. So for your first offense, any person violating this section shall be guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor and shall pay a minimum fine of $500, and then the fine goes up thereafter. So your second offense would increase, your third offense would increase, if you even have a driver's license after the second one. And it is a mandatory court appearance, so there's no, oh, just send in my money, pay the fine. No, you have to go and stand before the judge and explain why you passed a stop school bus. And I can guarantee if they got the kids there that day, you do not want to be there. And then we have the insurance points, just so you can look at all the different violations that we have and how many points that they go against your license. So the most is going to be passing a stop school bus and aggressive driving. That's 5 points. Then it goes down to 4 points for careless and reckless driving, hit and run property damage, following too closely, driving on the wrong side of the road, illegal passing, and so on. And the ones highlighted in red are the ones that we deal with the most. And probably more people would have experience maybe being stopped doing. And then even you get 3 points for running a stop sign. And that's a big one. And it's, my experience, fairly easy to do here in Emerald Isle when people aren't paying attention. I mean, I've had somebody, I don't like to hide. I sit right there where everybody can see me. He went right through a 4-way stop sign. I pulled him over. He's like, I didn't see you. I didn't see the stop sign. I was looking at the water slide. I was like, well, that's not very safe, is it? So are there any questions about anything that we've just gone over?